Hello. I just wanted to list this item because it's causing my life to be a living hell. Let me first start off by letting everyone know that I don't believe one bit in the supernatural, voodoo, witchcraft, or religion for that matter. And although I cannot explain what has been happening in my home, I would just like to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. Nevertheless, I don't know much about this doll. My wife and I went to a garage sale a few months ago, when our 3-year-old daughter pulled it out of a chest of strange-looking items. The doll looked harmless enough, but when I examined the back of it, I noticed strange symbols all over it. I asked the lady who was running the garage sale what the symbols meant, if anything. I had a hard time understanding her as she let me know that she was from Iran. The best that I could tell is that the doll was handmade in Iran, and that the symbols were merely some sort of Iranian legend. My wife felt a bit weary about letting our daughter have a doll with such strange markings on it, and what others would think if they saw them as well. I told her that it was just a doll, and offered to purchase it. She replied that she didn't know how the doll had gotten into the chest, and that it wasn't for sale. But when I told my daughter that she couldn't have it, she began to cry hysterically. We headed back to the car to find the lady running up behind us. She handed my daughter the doll. I was thrilled, as was my daughter. But when I tried to ask her how much I owed her, she replied, "No charge. You just go, quick." I thanked her, and we got into our car and were about to leave when a man came blazing out of her garage and stood in behind the car, preventing me from leaving. I had to get out and ask him to move. He said he would, just as soon as he got back what was not rightfully sold. I asked him if he meant the doll. He told me yes, and that he wanted it back. He exclaimed that it wasn't a kid's toy, and that I had no idea what I had. I apologized and tried to get the doll back from my daughter, but she wouldn't have it, pulling and gripping the doll. Soon after, the lady running the garage sale came over to the car and told us to just take the doll. But the other gentleman refused, saying she had no right to sell it to us, and then just started arguing with her in another language, probably in Arabic. I couldn't believe how infuriated the man was getting. He was outright yelling at her and told her to go inside and that he would take care of this. She refused and told us to leave quickly, and told the man that he did not deserve the doll, whatever the hell that meant. Finally, he barked at me, yelling, "Give me the doll, now!" I told him that I had no problem giving him back the doll, and to calm down, and that I just needed to get it from my daughter. The man soon seemed a bit out of breath, and his wife, or whoever she was, told him he needed to take his medication. He told me not to leave, as he blared into the house. Needless to say, I didn't want to stick around. So I one last time tried to retrieve the doll from my daughter, but she was having a fit. The lady told me, "Please, go. Take the doll. Take good care of it. Now, please go before he returns." I took the doll and sped away, wondering what the heck had just happened, and why he wanted the doll so badly. Now, all of this happened a few months ago, and this is how I remember it all to the best of my knowledge. But what was about to come of the next 3 months or so would make me think entirely different about why that man wanted the doll back so badly. My daughter slept with the doll every night, and even named it Dolly. When, after only a week, a few strange things began to happen. First, our daughter began waking up in the middle of the night, screaming because of bad dreams. As parents, we took this as normal because of the fact that all kids have nightmares in the middle of the night. The problem was that she went from having maybe one every week, to one every night, to several each night. We began to let her sleep with us at night, but then realized that we all started having weird dreams. Scary dreams. Now, like I said, I don't believe in all this mumbo-jumbo stuff, and I believe to this day that these dreams were psychologically induced because of all that had been happening. But when my daughter started explaining her nightmares to my wife, they were extremely similar to her own nightmares. Dreams of giant, hideous worms coming up from the ground and pulling their victims, my wife and daughter, into the earth. My wife explained her nightmares to me, and soon after, I began to have them as well. I see this as like seeing a movie and dreaming of it soon after. Nevertheless, the nightmares got so vivid that both my wife and daughter would wake up screaming. At this point, we still didn't consider the doll as having anything to do with our dilemma. It was the months to come that had us all thinking differently. My daughter started waking us up and telling us that Dolly wanted to be free. I told her that I didn't understand, and she told me that Dolly had told her that she wanted to be free. I dismissed it as just a pretend thing that children do, and told her to try and get some sleep. One morning, we woke up, and the doll couldn't be found. We searched everywhere to finally find the doll in my long coat's jacket pocket that I never wear, hanging in my closet. I asked my daughter why she put it there, and she swore up and down that she didn't. I asked my wife if she put it there, and she declined doing it as well. Honestly, I don't know how it got there, but I gave it back to my daughter, and she was happy again. My daughter got to the point where she wouldn't go anywhere without Dolly. She always had her under her arm or in her hand, and talked to her constantly for hours. It was like she was having a full-blown conversation with a real person. One night at the dinner table, I took Dolly away from her and told her that she could have her back after she ate all of her dinner, because she wasn't eating, and just talking to that stupid doll. She cried so violently she ended up throwing up all over the table. At this point, I'd had enough. I told my wife that it was time to just throw the doll away, and that our daughter had grown dependent on Dolly. She argued the fact that it would be like throwing my big screen television away, and that she really loved Dolly. I disagreed, and took the doll and threw it in the trash one night while my daughter was sleeping. My wife caught me, and ended up retrieving the thing from the garbage. We argued all night. Finally, just recently, my daughter woke up in the middle of the night and told my wife and I that Dolly wanted my daughter to take her for a walk in the middle of the night and open the front door and leave the house. It was 3 a.m., people! What the hell? This went on for another week, at least. Then, as if the nightmares weren't enough, my daughter woke us up, claiming that Dolly had walked across the bed by herself from one end to the next, and that one day, my daughter would see who Dolly really was. And at this time, my wife was having dreams of huge worms and slimy creatures. This was all too much. I'm still convinced that all of this is still caused by either lack of sleep or some sort of delusional state of mind. Nevertheless, in my opinion, a 3-year-old shouldn't be talking this way, make-believe or not. Now, I don't know what to do with this thing. My wife says that she won't let me throw it away, and that it could prove to be a family heirloom. I told her that if she wasn't going to let me just throw it away, then I'd just sell it on eBay. She was furious. Anyhow, my wife and daughter went to spend some time with their mother, so I hid the damn thing in my safe, and claimed that I couldn't find it before they left. My daughter was hysterical. I'm using this as my chance to finally and ultimately get rid of the thing. After looking for over an hour, my daughter looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Daddy, I know you have it, and Dolly knows too. She's going to make sure the big worm comes at night." Will someone please tell me how in the heck a 3-year-old talks like this? Anyway, here's your chance, people. I'm selling this thing because it's beginning to ruin my marriage and my life. I don't know if this will stop the nightmares or not, but I do know that it's best for my daughter to finally get rid of this thing. I've taken pictures of the front of the doll, which looks nice and sweet, and the back of the doll, which has markings of which I have no idea of their origin, or what in the heck they mean. If someone can tell me what these markings mean, or has any clue whatsoever, please email me and let me know. I am a bit curious if they mean anything at all, or if it's just a bunch of nonsense. I don't know what was used to write these markings on the doll. It looks like some sort of ink or iodine or something. Who knows? Anyway, I've included close-up pics of the areas with the markings for your viewing pleasure. I'll even include the shipping. I'll start the bidding at $5. Again, if anyone knows what these symbols mean, I would be much appreciated for the info. Thanks for bidding, and finally taking this mess out of my life. Hey, I was checking out your site, which is great, and wanted to pass along some information about the eBay haunted doll story. The symbols on the back of the doll's head are from the Necronomicon, a book, probably fictitious, with the intent to invoke demons. The top symbol is the seal of Murdoch, the Lord of Lords, Master of Magicians. His name should not be called, except when no other will do. And it is the most terrible responsibility to do so. The word of his calling is Dugga. The bottom 4 symbols are the second line of the text of Eurelia, the Book of the Worm. It contains the formulae by which the Wreckers of Havoc perform their rites. These are the prayers of the ensnares, the liars in wait, the blind fiends of chaos, the most ancient evil. I just wanted to pass this along. Thought the readers or the gentleman who posted the original message might like to know what he was looking at. All the quoted material that was taken from the Necronomicon can probably find it in any bookstore if interested. I found mine out of Borders. Keep up the interesting sight. Oh, and if possible, mail me back and let me know.